Well, I got Uncle Dorkel out on the bench here, and I'm hooking up. Well, I actually did it off camera. I already got the terminals on here, and I'm on the terminal block here. This is the arm motor here, so we're just putting a screw to hold this wire up and out of the way here. I'm going to put a couple of them in there, and then we make our connections right here, where the blue and the red wire are connected here. This will continue on here. We have to put something across the motor. Right now we don't have an MOV to go across it, but by the time you see this video I'll probably have the MOV from Jim, because the MOVs I've got are like 440 volts. So I could put a 194 bulb, which I discussed with Jim, and that should work as a spike suppressor, so it doesn't damage the relays, which this will be running right off of these relays here on channel C and channel D, which would be these two here. So we have to pull out this board in order to make the connections in there, and we'll just bring those wires up and into here, and then we have to try it all out first to make sure that we've got it so it will reverse, and if both buttons are pushed down at the same time it shouldn't do anything, but we do have to make sure that there isn't going to be any shorts in this thing. Okay, the way Jim has this drawn up, here's the arm motor here. They're connected to the flapper. That's what I call them, the flapper. I can't think of any other name to call them. And it's sitting in the normally closed position. So we have to check the relay board and see where that is. So your common will go to one normally closed. Actually, they'll go to both normally closed here. So what we're going to do is check that out with the ohm meter here. We'll do that off camera, because I might have the thing reversed in here, because I believe I can't see that without a lot of magnification. I don't have my glasses on, but I think it's A, B, and C. A, I believe, has the 12 volts going in, so each one of these red wires here is taking 12 volts, and it goes into a harness right here, and it's all tied to one red lead to the battery, through the fuse and then a battery. So this here is the power for the board itself, which is a separate red wire, because that's the way it was easier for me to hook it up that way. So I gotta pull this board out. I gotta take this board out of here, because I can't see anything unless it's pulled out. So that's what we're going to do now. Alright, and we can, that's why I have the wires long. Alright, so that I can see what I'm doing here. So let me get my glasses on. I'll figure this, I'll ohm this out and find out what the normally closed contacts are, so I can bring these two wires that I've got here. They're both red, even though they're connected to the terminal strip, and one is red and one is blue, but the motor is reversible, so it doesn't really matter. So these are going to go to the two flapper contacts. This right here, the paddle, you want to call it that, this. So your motor is going to each one of these paddles. So I got to find out where the paddles are, because they're going to be normally closed. So all I got to do is find out whether it's A, B, or C that is going to be the normally closed position, and we do that with the ohm meter. And of course, naturally, the battery will not be in Dorkel when we're doing that, because we're using the ohm scale on the meter. We're not checking for voltage, we're checking for continuity between the flapper and the normally closed position, which is where it's sitting right now because it's not being energized. Alright, I'm using the Z1, so it probably won't be in focus. The way I wired this up, alright, the head left and right is over here, these two, A and B. C and D are not connected. You have A, B, and C. A, B, and C. Here. All the A's, each one of these is positive 12 volts, okay? So all four of A is powered with 12 volts. Okay, disregard these wires. These are for the mount solenoid. Okay, so the way this works is when it's energized here with 12 volts, it throws 12 volts on the white lead and turns the head motor one way. The same with here. When this relay is energized, it throws this 12 volts with the flapper over to the white wire, which is on B, I think. Alright, so A and B are the only ones used. C is not used. Okay? I'm not going to disturb these two relays and this hookup because this is for the head motor. Head motor's working just fine. I'm going to have to do some head scratching. And it's getting cold out here, and it's not a very warm day. It's only about 60, low 60s, if even that. And it's kind of cold. So I am not sure. I got to do a lot of head scratching, like I say, and I'm going to have to do that in the house. And take this wire and diagram here in with me. Actually, I have it on the computer, and see if I can figure out. The problem is I don't have a actual schematic of this. All I have is a pictorial diagram showing you the way of connecting the wires for the positives, and I think they were using C. I didn't want to use C. So either A or B is the flapper. This part right here. I call that the flapper. As I said, I don't know what they call it. So the motor needs to be connected across one relay's flapper, and the other lead from the motor connects to the other relay flapper or flipper. Okay? And when it's not powered, they're both sitting at normally closed, okay? So that means you're supposed to have negative going into the normally closed, okay? Which means that I probably have to remove the red wires, these two. Remember, A and B is already being used for the head motor. C and D, it reads backwards because that's the way the Chinese do things. A, B, C, and D. So C and D is going to be, one's going to be the arm up, the other one's going to be the arm down. So I might have to remove these two hot wires here. But my problem is I got to find the flapper, and I don't know whether it's on A, B, or C. And since these are all independent, I don't have any problem with that, but I have to feed a negative in there somehow, and the negative should be fed to the normally closed. But I need to find a flapper, so I really need a schematic of the internal pinouts of these relays, and it does not give you that here. So there's no way I can find out which one is the flapper. I can get a reading. Let me give you a reading now of this, and then I'll note that on the schematic. Hang on a minute. Tommy's out here. He's been doing some busy work. We came back from Jewett City. There's nothing. We didn't get anything up there. Tommy bought a brand new MP3 player in a package for $5. He's charging it up, and we went to a car show, but we're not putting it on YouTube because they had a lot of nice 50s and 60s music, And because of the copyright Nazis, we're not going to take any chances with that. So we're not going to make a silent movie. So we're not putting a car show up on YouTube today. So Tommy and I recorded it for ourselves. I put a request in for Bobby Darin's Plain Jane, which was the very first 45 RPM record I bought in 1959 when I started collecting records. Anyways, okay, what I'm getting continuity on, there is contact A, B, and C, A, B, and C, A, B, and C, A, B, and C, okay? I am getting continuity with this, with no power going in this, on contacts B and C. But still, that does not tell me which one is the flapper, okay? I don't know whether B is the flapper or C is the flapper. That I do not know, and I cannot risk hooking it up until I find out. So either B is the flapper and C is normally closed, or vice versa, but I don't know. I have no way of checking it out because I need a schematic of the relay itself that's in here. So if I experiment with this, I could pop a fuse, and right now I have only one fuse. I have a fuse for the head motor, I have a system fuse, and other fuses like for the mount trigger and everything, but at this time I do not have a fuse for the arm motor over here. So because of that, I don't want to risk hooking this up. Now normally I just bring these down, and because these are extra long, I can hook them up in here. But I think I'm going to have to remove A on both of the relays, relay C and relay D. As I said, they're A, B, C, and D backwards. So relay C and D are not being used, and they're going to be used for the arm. So I might have to pull these two positives out, but I don't want to do anything yet because I do not know which one is the flapper. Like I say, I need to know that. I don't know if you can see that. There's plenty of daylight. You can probably get about as close as that. I don't think you want to get too close. Hopefully you can see this diagram here. And as I'm going to repeat myself here, you've got the common here, which is negative, which would be the system negative for the entire Dorkel, okay? Everything's common to the negative in Dorkel, everything, to the negative 12-volt supply. So we need to have the normally closed pins on this, whether it's B or C, to have negative being fed in here, okay? Then the motor here is the arm motor here, would normally connect to one flapper for, he's got channel B and he's got channel A here. Well, of course, A and B are taken for the head motor, so it's going to be C and D, but that don't matter. These are all equal anyways. They're all the same. So what I need to do is to figure out, and I don't think I can do it without a schematic, which one is the flapper. So I can put the motor connections, which are here, both of these wires, and they're red because it doesn't matter. One can go to the flapper of C, the other one can go to the flapper of D. Okay? And then we have to feed in a common negative supply to each normally closed position. Position on relay C, position on relay D. and the positive would go to both of the normally open positions, 12 volt positive, right here, to the normally open. But we need to find out what the flapper is. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to close this up. I'm going to put this board back in here, shut my ohm meter off. It's getting cold. It's not all that late. I don't know what time it is, but I'm going to just put this back for now in here. I started late today. I don't remember exactly what time.
2:40.
It's 2:40? Yeah. It gets dark so ridiculously early now when it starts getting colder. So we have one extreme to the other. We had very hot and humid weather. Now we've got very cool weather, which I've always said I like the cooler weather better. But there's little or no sun right now, so it's making it difficult and uncomfortable working out here. So I didn't accomplish very much at all today, other than put those wires in for the arm motor. What do you know, I hit the screw without fighting with it. We just screw that board in. There's only one screw that holds these boards in, so that they're easy to remove. All right, so we got the wires here. We can't do anything else right now until we figure out the relay. And like I say, this wireless board only had a wiring diagram for the outside. It didn't show you on the relays, and I took my magnifying glass and looked on the relays where I could see them on the top, and it doesn't give you a schematic diagram of where the flapper is, what pin it is. It's either on see, there's A, B, and C. I get a continuity between B and C. So that's one of them's the normally closed contact, the other is the flapper. But I would probably say B is the flapper, and this is probably the normally closed contact. In other words, when the relay is not being energized. So that's all we're going to do. This is not a very good video. At the rate I'm going, we're never going to get this thing done before the snow flies, and the ice and snow, and then so we don't have a skit. What can I tell you? It took me more time to get these tools out here today than it did to do the job. So I want to be able to dress this arm up over here. A lot of this cabling is pulled in on the reel inside, and what I want to do is to release some of that, pull it back, take this off, and wrap it around where I want it to be, so there's maybe a couple of turns on the pulley inside instead of 8 or 9 turns. Get a spider up here. Well, we did have a spider. It's gone now. So that I got some leeway if I need to work with the rope. And then what I'm going to do when I remove this is the excess rope, I'm going to wrap it around here, put another cable tie in here, wrap it around and put some tape on there, and then redo his wrist. So that way, if I need to get this thing out, because when I pull this out, I got to release the slack on it, and I want to have enough cabling so I don't pull it all the way through, because if you do that and it goes inside that Teflon tubing, you're SOL, and I think you all know what SOL means. So You can't get it back in again. You're not going to be, you can't push a rope. You can pull a rope, but you can't push it. You ever tried pushing a rope? All right, so we're going to put this back in the shop. Put this down on bolts so it doesn't get accidentally used in a...
My hands are shivering a little bit.
Hands are shivering. His hands are shivering. It's cold out here. It's either hot and humid or it's cold. There's just no happy medium.
Video might be a little shaky, but I apologize for that.
All right, well, we're going to close up. That's it. Bring these back into the shop. I got these at a yard sale a couple years ago. I did not buy this at Harbor Freight. This I got at a yard sale. And I put my... I have some of these Vaco, V-A-C-O, nut drivers and stuff in here. All right. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one.